How does someone listening know if they should give up on something or if it's just the inevitable rough patch that you go through when you start and you're bad?
Okay, so the dip describes something in the world that no one had talked about in the book before, which is the power of quitting. What is the dip? The dip is the hard part in between starting and getting good at it. The dip is organic chemistry on your way to being a doctor. And you got to get through it to get to the other side. The dip is the gym in March. If you want six-pack abs, you can't quit the gym in February, which you joined during the holidays. You're going to have to get through the hard part. And so most of what we do that creates value has a dip in it. And my argument is you should, A, see the dip before you start. You should say, if I'm going to drive this car across the Gobi Desert, I can't whine when I can't find a gas station. There are no gas stations in the Gobi Desert. There's a dip to get across the desert. Pack what you need to get through the dip or don't start. And number two, when the dip shows up, say thank you, because it means you hit the hard part. It means this is the beginning of getting to the other side. Don't complain about organic chemistry. You knew organic chemistry was coming. Organic chemistry is part of the process of becoming a doctor. As my friend Gabe says, it's not an obstacle in the way. It's something along the way. And it's a signpost that you're on the way. So your question then is, should we quit? Has anyone ever made it through this dip before? If this is a dip like organic chemistry, where every single doctor in the world has made it through, now you know. You know this is coming, and you know if you make it through, you're going to get to the other side. On the other hand, no one that I know of has ever smoked their way through emphysema. That when emphysema shows up, it's not a dip. And continuing to smoke is not going to make you better. It's what made you worse. It's a cul-de-sac. It's a trap. And so what we look for when we're talking to people about this journey, this delusion, this problem we're trying to solve is, what does it usually cost to get through a dip like this one? Do I have the resources to get through it, or am I just throwing good time and good money after bad? But if you got a business that's losing money and losing money and losing money and losing money, and there's no evidence that putting more money into your thing is going to get you to the other side, that's a cul-de-sac. Forgive yourself, the old self who started the wrong business. Say, thank you. Thank you for having the right insight, but it wasn't correct for this world today. I forgive you. I'm going to go quit and do something else.
The key word there you said is evidence.
Yeah.
And the evidence could be, as you say, small.
Yeah. So if we think about the business, if you got a retail shop or a restaurant, the ones that succeed, 95% of their profit goes to the landlord. And the ones that fail, 102% of their profit goes to the landlord. That's the only difference between failing and not failing in one of those businesses. The landlord's job is to take as much as they can of your profit, but not too much that you go out of business. So someone's got a 4-year lease. They're 2 years into it. They're not making rent. They're losing money every single day. And they have a sunk cost, which is, I got to pay for the next 2 years of this storefront, whether or not I'm in here. But you can quit because you can forgive that 2 years you have to pay. You decided that 2 years ago. That's not a new thing. That's an old thing. Are you really going to spend the next 2 years of your life punishing yourself because you made a decision a few years ago and signed a bad lease and built the wrong business on the wrong street in a system that doesn't support you? Why? You can't get those 2 years back. But we can take a deep breath and say, yeah, I'm going to leave this place empty and go build something really useful over here. And I'll come out way ahead compared to defending that old decision.
But hang on a minute, Seth. When I went to the gym this morning, there was quotes written on the wall. And the quotes are like this one here. Can you read that out for me?
If you quit once, it becomes a habit. Never quit.
It's a Michael Jordan quote.
Michael Jordan. Yes. I'm never going to have an argument with Michael Jordan, but he's wrong. And it's very clear that he's wrong. He doesn't play professional baseball anymore. He doesn't play professional golf, nor does he play professional basketball anymore. Because humans age, and he did a thing, but then he stopped doing the thing because it wasn't productive anymore. And when we think about our fuel, he used as an athlete a couple things to fuel him. One thing he had was grievance. And if you listen to his Hall of Fame speech, it's just a long list of chips he's had on his shoulder for his whole career. That's fuel. Based on who he was and how he grew up, that's how he gets on the court. And the second one was never quit. So if those two pieces of fuel help you become the greatest basketball player of your generation, I'm not going to argue with you. If that's getting you where you need to go, it's up to you. But for most people, it's resistance and a trap. It's shame. It's getting stuck in a knot. It's all of the buts, right? I want to be a successful business person, but I can't admit I was wrong. Mm-hmm. I've shut down more businesses than most people who are listening to this. I've failed more times than most people who are listening to this. If I was still running the light bulb fundraising company I started in 1987, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Yeah. It's funny because there's this weird paradox that's so obvious to all of us, but still people believe this idea of never quitting. And the paradox that I'm pointing at is the minute someone starts something, a new company, a new job, a new relationship, we celebrate. But we also intuitively know that in order to start something like a new job or a new relationship, you have to do something before that, right, which is quit the other thing.
Yeah.
Never quit, but we celebrate starting. Theoretically, then, we should celebrate the quitting just as much as we celebrate the starting because they are fundamentally interlinked.
Correct, but only quitting the right stuff. You don't want to celebrate someone who quits the marathon at mile 25 because what they failed to do in their training was become the kind of runner that sees that the people who finish the marathon figure out where to put the tired. But that's not the same as working for an abusive boss because your boss is never going to stop being abusive. And so you can say, this can't get better. And every day I come here and subject myself to this trauma is costing me. It's reinforcing a system I don't believe in. And I can get tomorrow back again.
What you've described there sounds a lot like something I wrote about in my last book, which was just a quitting framework for this exact situation people find themselves in. Because I know what people are saying that are listening. They're all saying, how do I know when to quit something? So I made this framework, which I'll throw up on the screen. And actually the example I use is a marathon. I mean, this is the framework. You can see it for yourself. And I'll just sort of give you the voiceover. But if you look down the left side, I'm referring to a marathon there. And what I'm saying is when something is hard, that is not reason enough to quit. Like a marathon in mile 23, when you're raising money for a charity that means a lot to you. When you should quit is when something, if you go down the right-hand side, is when something sucks, like you've said about the toxic boss, and critically, the effort it would take to change it is not worth the thing on the other side.
Exactly right.
Because that's what people will say. They'll say, how do I know when to quit something? How do I know? How do I know when to quit the job or to...
Right, and you can question your judgment, because if you have a history of quitting because in the short run it was tough, as opposed to looking at whether it was worth it, you can find a coach or peers who can challenge you on that. Mm-hmm. So I was one of the leading makers of DVDs for book publishing companies back in the brief moment when they're doing this. So I worked with Fisher Price and we made a DVD for parents and stuff. And then this day shows up and it becomes very clear that book publishers aren't going to do more of this because the internet's here. They're going to do less of this. So every day I would be defending what I had built as a DVD producer was completely wasted. So forgive yourself. I didn't change the world. Somebody else changed the world, but it's not going to get better. This is a cul-de-sac. It's a dead end. Thanks for doing this. Let's start something else.
Because there's a lot of people right now that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s that are in jobs that have not made them fulfilled for a decade.
Yeah.
But they're 20 years in, they've climbed the ladder, they're director.
Right. So they have sunk costs because they've earned the spot. But they also have a whole bunch of entanglements. Like, I want to have a job that fulfills me, but I also like this car and this house. I want to have a job that fulfills me, but I also like my neighbors thinking I'm this stable, respectable person. I want to have a job that fulfills me, but I have all this other stuff I have to pay for. All right. But if we look at those buts, we realize you just made the choice to stay in this job. So you don't have to fret about it anymore. You've accepted that you made that choice. The alternative is move to a 2-bedroom flat, eat rice and beans, take a deep breath, reset all these things, and now you can get a different job that's going to pay you half as much because you gave up the buts, right? A job that fulfills me will give me a better relationship with my family, will give me hope for the future, will give me a chance to make X, Y, or Z happen in the world. That's hard because you can't have the buts. You got to let them go.
In that scenario, I have the car. I have the business card, which is impressive to people. I get invited to nice things, but I'm miserable.
Right.
So what do? I've got a community I've built around this identity that is on this business card, but I'm miserable, Seth.
Right. So the magic of this process is if you announce through this that it's a situation, that all these other things are so important to me, that I cannot change my job, suddenly your job gets a lot better. Because you're not bridling against it. You chose it. And so if you talk to people, I gave a couple talks for people who are in the funeral industry, undertakers. Most of us would not sign up for that job as high school students at the career fair, right? But the people who stick with it, they're not sitting there saying, this is horrible, I hate being around dead people. They're saying, all the stuff that I get in my life, this is part of it. It comes with it. Just like getting tired in the marathon comes with it. If I want to have this life where it's stable, where I don't have to move around, where I'm a member of the community, where the cash flow is assured, and I get to be an undertaker. Within that structure, how do I be the best undertaker I could possibly be? As opposed to wishing that I would get a call from Michael Jordan who wants me to run his financial empire or something, because it's not going to happen.
I get to be. You're taking back control from the situation.
Correct.
You're shifting from victimhood to control.
Right.
There's this remarkable couple of stats that I read about this idea of feeling like you have control and how it changes your outcomes in your life. The first stat is people who believe they are in control of their life and have control over their happiness rate their overall life satisfaction at an average of 7.4 out of 10, compared to those that don't feel like they have control over their situation, who rate their life satisfaction at 5.6.
Yep.
People who report low overall happiness are 5 times more likely to feel like their own personal situation is entirely outside of their control. I mean, this was a landmark study they did in care homes. In a famous 1976 study, elderly residents given plant care and small daily choices that they could make were 50% less likely to die over an 18-month period compared to residents whose care was fully handled for them.
Yeah.
Crazy. The power of feeling like you have control in your life.
Right. And also, I don't know the stats, but when they give people in hospice control over their painkillers, as opposed to them having to wait for someone to give them a painkiller, they don't necessarily take more painkillers. It was knowing they can do it. Same thing back to the meetings thing. If you have a job where you're going to meetings all day where you just have to sit like this, you've lost control over your day. And I'm not here to say there's no cost to switching. There's huge cost to switching. That's why you chose not to switch until now. But let's name it. Let's say, gravity is fascinating because it's here. But if I was on a planet that didn't have gravity or had low gravity, I would miss this gravity because I've built my whole life around gravity being this consistent thing. I get to live on a planet with gravity. I get to be the kind of organism that's going to die before he's 100. If you look at the world that way, that's inevitable and I get to inhabit each day the best I can, you're going to have a different life than if you're spending all your time trying to figure out how to live forever.
I'd never heard that painkiller study before, but as you were speaking, I just pulled it up and it says it's one of the most famous real-world demonstrations of how the perception of control alters your physical and psychological experience. When hospital patients are given a button to self-administer pain medication, 2 incredible things happen. Number 1 is they consume equal or less painkillers. Number 2, they report lower pain levels and higher satisfaction. The physical pain itself doesn't magically change, but the stress of helplessness amplifies pain.
Right.
The stress of helplessness. I mean, it goes right back to what we're saying about the knot in your new book, which is a lot of us are living with the stress of helplessness, but sometimes, not always, but sometimes that helplessness is in part a story.
I would say it's always a story because we can look at someone who is in human bondage. We can look at someone who's, been through trauma and we are projecting what we would feel in that situation. There are all these unfair situations around there. But then the question is, what is our narrative? What is our narrative of how are we living this day? What do we actually have control over? And what situations are we choosing to stick with? Because most of us have the freedom to shift, right? And so it's a story we tell ourselves that might not change the outside world in the short run. But what it does is it gives us this feeling of agency, which then gives us a sense of responsibility, which then amplifies into choice. And my whole career is about how can I help people do better?
I wanted to throw another quote at you here. This one is about meaningful work. So if you could read that as well.
From Warren Buffett, in the world of business, the people who are most successful are those who are doing what they love.
I've heard that a million times. Do what you love.
Yeah, it's backwards. Sorry, Warren. The people who are the most successful love what they do.
What's the difference?
Well, doing what you love means there's an amusement park out there that has all the treats I love and all the best prizes. Of course I love it. The other is a choice. I chose to do this work because I love it. There was a guy who worked at the Dean and DeLuca Cafe in Midtown, and he was developmentally challenged, and he was probably 50 years old. He was the mayor of this Dean and DeLuca. He was the guy who cleared the tables and kept the thing straight. He loved this job. You and I would have lasted 15 minutes in this job. He loved this job because he decided to love this job. The Reverend King had a great quote about street sweepers. And he said, if you have to be a street sweeper, at least choose to be the best street sweeper in that situation, under these conditions, that it's possible to be. And the reason is not because you want to help the street sweeping company. It's because your day's going to go better if you do that.
I was thinking he also meant, potentially, although he, I guess he didn't clarify, but the way that I perceived it was that if I become the best street sweeper, not to say that's not an important job, it increases my possibility of becoming something else as well, of being promoted, being, dare I say, picked, to be something else, or to start my own street sweeping business, or to, I'm going to build a great relationship with my customers.
And I think they rhyme and dance with each other.
Yeah.
They don't contradict each other. And so all of us have had a job where we thought it was a good job, and someone doing the same job down the aisle hated it, or vice versa. So clearly, it's not the job. It's where did we come from? What are we afraid of? What do we believe? Where are we going? That creates the story that opens the door for possibility.
Well, I guess some of these other quotes linked to it then. I mean, they kind of all say the same thing, but let's do this one. This is a famous Mark Twain quote that probably everybody's heard.
If you get a chance, talk to your favorite AI about Mark Twain quotes.
Mostly fake.
But it's a great conversation. The two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
I've heard that a lot as well.
And my small shift is not the day you find out why. It's the day you decide why. Because this isn't something you're born with. This is something you choose. And if you make the decision, like my friend Jacqueline, to say, there are 400 million people on this earth who are making $3 or $4 a day. I'm going to devote a generation of my life to helping them. You can go do that. And most people don't have the head start. Most people aren't starting at mile 20 of the marathon. Some people are starting behind others, but we still get to decide based on who we are, what we know, what we've got access to, which problems are we going to solve, and who's going to benefit from us solving those problems. That is what I think Twain was trying to get at.
And my last one. This one, from a very famous guy whose device I'm using right now.
The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Bingo. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle.
Who is that?
That's Steve Jobs. And I think the keep looking part might mean look inside. Don't look over there. Why is it that you don't love what you do right now? Let's unknot that first. Is it because you're being disrespected? Is it because the external narrative of what's happening is undermining who you hope to be? If we can get clear about that, finding the next thing gets way easier. You're not giving in to this lottery of hoping you get picked by the next right boss. You can go hire a boss And when you hire the right boss, your job is transformed.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.